Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Wednesday, the 21st of December. I'm Derek Clark, and I'm joined this morning by, I'm sure, a much more happier Stevie Clifford than he was at 90 minutes at Pittodrie last night. How are we doing, Stevie?
Very good, Derek. This threatened to be another repeat of the Liverpool morning. But come 94 minutes, I don't think many of us seen that. But yeah, plenty to unpack this morning, that's for sure.
Yeah, there certainly is. Before we do that, folks, 2 seconds. I just need to actually plug in my mic, which I haven't done so already. Before we do that, folks, you can see the little ticker below our Christmas offer. Go and subscribe to the Rangers Review. It's a great offer we've got on just now. 2 months just for £1. You'll get 2 months worth of coverage. Head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe for all the details. And as you can see the banner on your screen as well, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel for absolutely free and join the thousands who have already done so, and you'll never miss a video when we go live. And there are plenty of videos too. Let's talk Rangers then. A dramatic win last night at Pittodrie. Rangers winning by 3-2 for the second match in a row. It all started so well for Rangers, opening the scoring through fashion at Sakala. Aberdeen were to equalise with a free kick from the edge of the Rangers area after James Sands had filled the Aberdeen player, and Duke curled the ball past Alan McGregor. We'll talk about his performance, his positioning a little later on. Aberdeen then took the lead in the second half. A bit of a calamity as far as Rangers are concerned. A good strike from the boy Clarkson from the edge of the area, a volley into the far corner. Rangers huffed and puffed. Michael Beale made 4 subs as he chased the game. Eventually, in stoppage time, after missing 2 great chances, I've got to say, Scott Arfield managed to get prod the ball home after Roos had saved Ryan Kent's long-range drive. And then there was more drama to come. Rangers managed to get the winner. Arfield again prodding the ball home from close range in the 97th minute to spark jubilant scenes at Pittodrie and every Rangers fan watching at home as well. Stevie, what was your main takeaways from last night? I think Michael Beale hit a nail on the head when he says 10 out of 10 for character and mentality, but 5 out of 10 for the overall performance.
Yeah, listen, absolutely. I think that I don't think the result can paper over some of the things that we're going to discuss, and I think it's necessarily we say them. But I'm kind of loath to come on and be ultra negative and not enjoy the ending and give the players credit for the attitude, desire, character to keep going and pull that out of the bag. Because at 94 minutes with 3 minutes left, I have never seen a situation where Rangers have went on and equalised and then won a game in that fashion. So It's a tremendous victory. It's a tremendous 3 points, but it can't and doesn't paper over the cracks as such. But as football fans, we're entitled to enjoy that last couple of minutes and just enjoy the kind of the high that gives you, because even when we do equalise, I don't think there's many Rangers fans out there that would have cheered it or celebrated it as much. There was, even in this house, myself and the wife watching, it was kind of like, well, yes, brilliant, at least we got the equaliser, but it's still not really good enough. And then only Rangers could equalise like that, almost lose it again as the boy hits it just wide, and then go up the other end and manage to grab an equaliser, a winner, sorry. So it's the proverbial Rangers roller coaster. But all credit to the players. I want to start that. I want to say that all credit to the players for pulling it out and their performance in the last 5 minutes to come back and win that. To keep going is really important. That heart, that spirit that we've all kind of spoken about, that we've questioned, to do that is great. So that's the big positives, Derek, as well as obviously the 3 points and winning it in the style that we did. So I don't want to come on here this morning and be ultra negative about it, but there is bits that I think we have to discuss, and it would be remiss not to. But we can certainly enjoy that, because to do that to them up there in their backyard, knowing how much they would have been looking forward to celebrating that victory, and everything else is just magnificent. So we'll take that.
Yeah, I think Jim Goodwin said it all last night. He looked absolutely crestfallen in that post-match.
Yeah, that was an enjoyable watch as well. So,
I could feel his pain, but like you say, Stevie, it's not very often. I struggle to actually think of the last time that's happened. Rangers scoring a late winner like that. I think Legia Warsaw, I'm sure, in the European journey, but in terms domestically, and especially from being in behind to score 2 stoppage time goals is late on. I'm struggling to think of the last time that happened.
The only time we come up with this morning, I asked this on Twitter and asked Rangers History, who are so good at telling us, he couldn't recall a situation ever like that. But one of the boys, Stevie, who goes week in, week out, one of the Tory Glen boys, he suggested on another bit that Rangers beating Wraith Rovers back in 1996 when Ali got a late hat-trick. It's probably as close as we would have come. I think Ali equalised for 2-2, maybe 88, and then he got the winner 91, and Jury scored, I think, 92, 93 to win 4-2. So that's probably as close in my lifetime as I'll remember, and probably a lot of people's era is watching. But I don't ever remember deep into stoppage time being behind like that, equalising and then grabbing a winner. So, it's certainly one to enjoy. And I was night shift, so I watched those last couple of minutes a good few times.
Yeah, it's bizarre. I mean, it happens to a lot of teams scoring late winners, but for Rangers, it doesn't really happen too often. But last night, it was enjoyable. For the ending, certainly. But for much of it, Stevie, it was not good whatsoever. Started off well. I sort of agree with Michael Beale's assessment of the game. They started pretty well. Fashion Sakala scores early on. Morelos had a bit of a chance after that hit straight at the goalkeeper, and Rangers looked good. And then I don't know what can you put your finger on it? What went wrong from then on in? Of course, he makes the 4 substitutions when Aberdeen go 2-1 up in that second half. He did say what we wanted the players to go and play a bit freer and to gamble a little bit. Ended up working out in the end. But there's a number of players there that didn't do themselves any favours, I don't think, about putting themselves in the manager's plans going forward.
No, and there's a few difficult things to say about that, but we'll get to that in a minute. First 15 minutes of the game, I thought we were good. Took the lead actually from a nice move. Jack and Morelos create some good space. Morelos then continues, and his cut back, typical fashion, really sclaps the first one and then buries the second opportunity really well. Then they do create again. Malik Tillman, excellent moment, gets to the byline, picks out Morelos. Morelos does really well to round his man. And then just when you want him to pick the corner, he kind of hits it a bit straight.
Yeah.
And from there on in, we stopped, Derek. We stopped for a good 20-odd minutes, culminating, I think Aberdeen had a good chance, 21, 22 minutes when Ramadani hits it wide. Now, there's a culmination of issues there that, your centre-half slip. Ryan Jack gets pulled out of position. Glenn Kamara doesn't track his runner. He's left at the back. Kamara's kind of in no man's land, which is a problem we've seen before.
Yeah.
And he puts it just wide. Rangers then recover between 30 and 40. I thought we were fine. We started moving the ball. And when we control the ball, I thought we were okay. And I thought we had steadied, but we lose a really poor goal. Fashion Sakala, you see the good of him. That's the bad. He's got it in his possession. He miscontrols it, ends up going the wrong way. Then James Sands doesn't win a 50-50 and ultimately ends up with a really rash, silly challenge from the wrong side. It's not the first time we've seen him do that, unfortunately. And he seems to get caught. And then, the equaliser, which we'll come to, is fairly poor. It's a good strike, but it's fairly poor. But what went wrong for us, Derek, for me, in that spell is we stopped using the ball. We stopped passing the ball. It became very slack. It then got stretched. And as soon as a game becomes stretched and we don't become compact, like our whole defensive line started getting out of shape. There was one ball, don't know if people would remember this, there was one ball across our defensive line, which McGregor came out and caught, but the boy was at the back post. Now, he was ahead of the fullback, who was Adam Devine, but he was behind James Sands, and Goulson was caught away up, and the line was basically so far apart like that he could sit in the middle. And if it wasn't for McGregor coming out to grab that, we would have been caught. And it's that kind of thing. We become ragged very easily. We lose our shape, we lose our discipline. And the retention of the ball, just as Jim's just pointed out there, it's really poor. Really easy passes, we're not making them. So that's where I think we kind of lose it. And once we start moving the ball, around the defence, getting it wide, Kent picking it up, I thought we were fine. And I thought we had managed to get through that difficult 15-minute period. And without creating much, I don't think we did, but we started to get control of it again. And I thought we were fine. I thought get to half-time at 1-0 and we'll be okay. As soon as they score on that moment, Derek, any team that scores just before half-time of that is really difficult.
Yeah,
and we've seen the effect it had on us. But the goal, Fashion has got to do better. James Sands caught. And the goalkeeping, look, it's a tremendous strike, right? It really is a really good strike. The way he hits it sort of down and moves like that, it's really perfectly struck. But Alan McGregor takes a step, right? And I think we all judge it because we know how good Alan McGregor is or can be, and we expect him to save it, which is it's difficult for him. It's harsh because it's such a good strike and it is a good goal. So credit to the boy for that. But we look at it and say that Alan McGregor should save that.
I know.
And that's the criticism. That's the moment where you're kind of wondering exactly, where it is. And it's poor from our point of view. I think McGregor's got to do better.
Yeah, as Matt Gunner says, he's a good goalkeeper, saves both of them. Like you say, Stevie, I agree. If Tavernier scores that or whoever else, you're praising them. But I think there is an element of the goalkeeper's positioning. I'm sure Alan himself will hold his hand up and say he should have done better with that one. The second one, I think, is a really good strike from the boy. I don't think you can deny him that. But again, I see his positioning questioned by some as well. And unfortunately, that debate of who should be the number one is going to continue to rage on at the moment. There's a comment coming here from Denzel. Morning Denzel says that a new keeper is a must in January, surely. Would you go along with that?
I don't think it's a priority for me ahead of other positions. But let me quantify that. I don't think it's the wrong statement, and I think we do need a new goalie. But I think there's other positions first where I would go for, and I'll get to that kind of in a wee bit. But with regards to the second goal, Derek, this sums up the first 10 minutes of the second half especially. We couldn't get our foot in the ball. We didn't move it. The midfield is non-existent. Like Jack and Kamara don't start moving the ball. They don't control the ball. They don't dictate the tempo. So we're nowhere in that spell. And they have a couple of kind of promising moments down our left-hand side. One where the boy almost gets in. McGregor comes out and kind of half gets it enough to clear it. They start trying to isolate Divine. And then the goal comes. Now, the goal comes from their fullback running 20, 30 yards and being able to cross unopposed.
Yep.
And when he does cross unopposed, this is what I'm saying about our line. Our line is ragged. So Sands is half clearing. And instead of just clearing it the way he's facing, which would have put it out for a throw or a corner, whatever way, then we regroup. It is criminal for any defender to send it centrally back away. That's what he does. It's perfectly set for the boy. Now, I think that this, goalkeeping-wise, is worse than the first one because, again, we expect him to save it. For some reason, he takes a step to the other side again, and he's left flat-footed, and there's no spring. And the ball, when it goes in, is pretty central, Derek. It's not away in the corner where you could say, what a fantastic strike it was. He's got to positionally be better there. And you're looking at Alan McGregor, and you're thinking that, both times, I think he's going to be disappointed in that. Otherwise, did he really have a lot to do? I don't think he did. And they've missed a couple of opportunities, which, we'll come to. But Rangers were rocked at that point. Ball retention, the passing became so ragged, Derek. Like, Connor Goulson put it out a couple of times. James Tavernier became so poor in winning his duels and winning defensive moments and using the ball well that we lost all our shape. It just wasn't working. the subs were needed. The midfield was completely non-existent. Jack and Kamara lost their way entirely, both of them. There was no, they didn't dictate, they didn't dominate, they didn't use the ball well. That then fell away, and we were left. So Lundstrom coming on was a good sub. Arfield, when Arfield came on, Tillman began to play because he had runners off him that he could then pick up. So, that worked. I'm not so sure that Scott Wright did a lot when he came on. Alex Lowry maybe a wee bit, unlucky not to be coming on. But credit to Michael Beale, he had to change it, and he did. And by the point, the last kind of 80 minutes onwards, we were so far pushed up. Goldson and Davies were more or less playing as number 8s.
Yeah.
And we were leaving young Devine at the back, more or less, for his pace to try and negate anything. But they were dead on their feet. And to keep going the way we did, Arfield gets that opportunity. You talk about the boy saves it. And then there's the one where he kind of stabs it towards goal. And when we don't get that, I was thinking, it's not going to be our day.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like you, Steve. I didn't see it coming. I'm sure the majority of Rangers fans didn't see it coming either. But we've got Scott Arfield to thank for that. We'll talk about Arfield shortly. James Sands is coming in for a bit of criticism, Stevie. Stephen Smith says Sands was to blame for the first goal. I know he's out of position, but he's liable for that kind of challenge. I tend to agree. I think it was rash from the edge of the box. He gives the ball straight back to Clarkson for the second goal. For me, I watched him at centre-back way back when Rangers played Blackpool at the first game of the pre-season. And I knew then, I said, this is a player out of position. He doesn't look comfortable. And he's played a lot at centre-back for Rangers, of course, down to the long-term injuries. I would like to think that Ben Davies can steer clear of an injury from here on in. And Rangers have got other options to play at centre-back, because James Sands, for me, I don't like him in that position, Stevie. And I think Stephen's got a point there. What did you make his performance last night?
It was poor. It was really poor. I'm not so sure he's to blame. He's a symptom of several mistakes. The first goal, Sakala, Sands, McGregor. So he's one of three. He definitely cost the second goal. But he's kind of rash in challenges. He's not good on the ball at times. He's one of the ones, right, that's really suffered from, if you look at the game PSV away, he was excellent. And he's really suffered from our kind of collapse of form, that he's not been able to kickstart again and regain his form yet. Whether or not he might, pushing him forward into a midfielder might be the kind of way to go. But the problem that he's got is that we're trying to find out if he's good enough, Derek. I know it's a big price tag. You're talking about anywhere between 3 to 5 million, depending on what report you believe. Can we spend that on him at the moment? The answer is no. So there's not enough evidence to kind of support a deal like that. But could it be better moving him into midfield? Possibly he can. We're getting options now. I think, Davis and Goldson, before they got injured, were starting to look okay at the back. Davis was starting to get up to speed. So you've got to hope that that's going to click. But, I see people saying that, it's not his fault and he's playing out of position and stuff like that. And that's all fine. But he loses a 50-50 for the first goal, and then he's got the wrong side to tackle. That's on him. The clearance for the second goal is on him. So, he's playing out of position, Derek, but he should do better in both instances. So we can make excuses for him and saying he's playing out of position, but he needs to do better for both of them.
Yeah, but James Strachan says, I think we need to play players in their positions before we judge them.
Sorry, just to say, that's fine, and that's a good point, but it's still basics. Basics of the first 2 goals still cost us 2 goals. So it doesn't matter if he's midfield, right back, centre half. If he's making mistakes like that, he shouldn't really be in the team. Yeah,
there's lots of points of failure, as you said, Stevie. I mean, Sakala giving the ball away cheaply for the first goal, and there's a number of errors from then on. Lots of things for Michael Beale to work on. The only thing is, he has said before that they've got not much time on this training field with this the run of games, of course, up to Dingwall on Friday, which isn't ideal. Let's talk Scott Arfield. For me, he should have scored 4 goals when he came on. He missed 2. He had a shot that was it was palmed by the Aberdeen goalkeeper before being hacked away by Ross McCrory. And then he had another chance. Great feet again from Malik Tillman. Laid the ball on a plate for him. And he missed that chance. And then you're thinking that's the game up. However, he popped up. The equalising goal is sublime, Stevie. There was a comment that came in saying he's the only midfielder. This one from David Thompson. He's our only midfielder who runs beyond the ball. That's great striker's instinct to anticipate the goalkeeper was going to parry that Ryan Kent shot. He's first to react and he lifts the ball over him and into the back of the net. And then the second goal, of course, Connor Goldson. I was concerned when they went to VAR. It might have struck his arm, but fortunately it hit his chest. But he's there again. He sclaffs the finish, but if he hits that well enough, if he hits that cleanly, then it's not a goal probably. But he sclaffs it. It hits the back of the net. He's absolutely sensational, Stevie, isn't he? That's when Michael Beale talks about character and mentality. He's got that in abundance, hasn't he?
Are you going to tell him it's a sclaff? Because he'll not be having that at all. So I'll tell you, it's the best sclaff I've seen in a long time. But what I will say about Scotty Arfield is, now this isn't meaning to be critical and it's not meaning to be anything, but I think that Scott Arfield last night, the way he played, using him as a super sub as such, in that 20, 25 minutes to go is exactly how we need to use Scott Arfield.
Yeah.
Impact player. You know, Ian says it there, and I think he's spot on that when he comes on the legs. Now, that point, I think it was David that made the point that he's the only one that can run beyond. That's what I was saying about as soon as he gets close to Tillman becomes alive because he's got options at either side of him. The one where he runs off, plays it to Tillman, or the ball's played. I think Goldson plays it to Tillman, and he runs off and he slides it in. He should score. Excuse me, hot chocolate's coming back on me, Derek. Sorry. He should save that. Right, he should score that rather, but he gets contact on it, and then the first one where he volleys it, I think that's just a great effort. Like sometimes that'll hit the goalie and go in. I think the goalie's actually made a really decent save. I don't. There's no blame there for me, and I think that's 2 good efforts. The one that he scores, the equaliser, is actually excellent. There's not a lot of room, for him to finish that, because the ball, sees it comes off the goalie. It's not like it comes out 5 yards where he's got the whole goal then to lift it up or anything. He's basically got that one place to make sure that he hits it firmly, and it's a couple of yards out, and I get it, he should finish it, but he's still done that really well.
Yeah.
And then where is he, to finish the winner? He's right on spot, and you're right about Goldson, where Connor, in my mind's eye, sees it gets knocked down. I actually see Goldson just volley it in.
So did I.
And when it goes past them, you're kind of a wee bit taken aback. And then it seems to take an age. It's almost like Arfield sets himself. It bounces up and then he loops it down and it loops over the goalkeeper. And the funny thing is, as you said, see if he rifles that probably low or strikes it well, the goalie's already on his way down. It might hit him. You know what I mean? It might come off him, but the actual way he hit it, that's glaff, as you call it, Derek. And he'll not be happy with that, by the way.
Sorry, Scott, if you're tuning in.
That finish, I think it's an excellent finish, and give him all the credit in the world, because at the point where we needed something to happen, he sparked it. He was the one, hitting the runs like that. And it just shows you as well that Ryan Kent, I don't think Ryan Kent had a wonderful night, right? But he keeps going, and then gets that ball for the second, passes the boy really well. He sells him a dummy, passes him, gets the shot away. The shot's a difficult one. It's moving, and it creates the goal. Now, we talk a lot about Ryan Kent, about where he needs to be. His influence last week against Hibs, I think he assisted the equaliser for Sakala. And then he's had a positive impact in that game going forward. He's had a positive impact last night. He's still got miles to go, Ryan Kent, about where we need him to be. But he keeps going. He keeps trying to influence. He never hides. He's a big player in that sense for us. So I'm happy that he gets that wee involvement and moment for the goal as well. But Scotty Arfield, you know, he came on, man of the match for 20 minutes. He deserves now to kick on and get a start in that midfield for sure.
Yeah.
Even with me saying that we should use him as an impact sub, but
Yeah.
in certain games we can use him, and it was glorious, Derek, because, you know, at 94 minutes you're kind of standing there or sitting, whatever it was, in your house, and I was standing just over by that door, kind of pacing a wee bit, and I'm thinking, why does football ruin my life constantly? Like, you know, you're just about to go on night shift, you're doing this morning, and you're just thinking, oh, you know, why did they do this to me? And then the next 3 minutes is exactly why you tune in, isn't it? It's exactly why you're a football fan, and you love it for those moments. So even the missus was when Arfield's winner went in, even she was up kind of dancing about. So
yeah,
she's normally calm, cool, and collected. The kids are in bed, so that shows you. I think households all around the place would have been like that as well.
Yeah, football bloody hell, as Sir Alex once said. Brian makes an interesting point as well. I think this maybe one for another show, perhaps. He says, thoughts on giving Arfield an extension. I think last night shows you exactly what he can still bring to the table. I think it could be worth it. Your quick opinion on that, Stevie? He's one of a number of players, of course, out of contract in the summer. If he continues making contributions like that, I would have no qualms about offering him an extra year.
If he scores 2 every week, Derek, absolutely. But listen, no disrespect to Scott Arfield, no disrespect to anyone. And this is a wee bit of, I talk about this in my column this week for Rangers Review, that I think last night showed, and even though Michael Beale has said about Ryan Jack, there's not too many that are going out of contract that I want to keep. This squad needs not an axe to it, but it needs rebuilt. It needs freshness. And I'm not sure that keeping Arfield, Davis, McGregor, etc. last year was the right thing to do. Now, it seems silly after a game like last night where Arfield's made a big contribution. And if he bangs in 15 goals this year, he'll be throwing that down my face saying, I deserve a year. Absolutely, I get that 100%. At some point, though, we've got to be ruthless with this squad, Derek. And it needs freshness. It needs a rebuild. It needs new faces in. And listen, aside of that first 15 minutes and that last 5, we were pretty poor last night.
Yeah.
Midfield is non-existent. We need a centre half. We need a goalkeeper. We need a new forward. The spine of that team needs completely rebuild. So you cannot keep stockpiling players. You know, Arfield might have a shout because I think he's got 7 goals now and he's making more impact than others. But Michael Beale saying about Ryan Kent's contract renewal can alarm me a wee bit. And I'm a huge fan of the things that he said and how he started managerial-wise, but that's a red flag for me.
Yeah.
And that's something that I would like to ask him about, because I think everybody watching that last night, that 50 minutes we got off Ryan Jack, you know, he's not got the engine for it anymore, Derek. He's not got the legs for it on current evidence.
Don't think he can play 2 games in a week, can he?
I think that he needs to have a really good 6 months for him to be there. And if they're keeping him around as a squad player, then maybe, but even then at a push, I don't think these guys can stay here and be starters. Now, look, I'm sorry if that's negative, because I want to concentrate on the positive of the winning and getting that 3 points. But let's not sugarcoat what was getting out of jail massively and what was a pretty all-round poor performance. Michael Beale said it was a 5 out of 10. There is reason to believe that he was extremely unhappy in the dressing room at the end and told the players as such. Yeah. So I don't think he's fooled. And I think the fact that, you know, he barely celebrated the winner shows you that he's maybe, you know, he knows exactly where we are. But this squad, this team needs urgent kind of work to it. It's a case of getting through to January and making sure that January counts. And this goes back to what the boy asked before about, do you think a goalkeeper is urgently necessary as number 1 priority in January? Now, I can see people's point of view 100%, but for me, that midfield needs sorted, Derek, urgently. It needed sorted 2-3 years ago. It's now beyond a priority for me. They have to get 2 or 3 bodies in January, and guys that are capable of dictating, using the ball, and looking forward to next season and then being settled in. So, there's key work to the spine of that Rangers team needs done, and you would hope that it would rejuvenate a few around them. So goalkeeper, absolutely. That kind of as I said, that takes us back to that question a wee bit before. I said I would quantify it, and that's basically where I am with it. So do we give guys like that a new deal? Not for me, not at this moment. Sorry, and it's really difficult after last night. I appreciate that, but
no, listen, it's all about opinions. That's
on a wee bit.
Yeah, that's the beauty of football, and I think January is always a challenging time to bring in quality players. But that's a challenge awaiting Michael Beale and Ross Wilson. I'm sure, like you say, I quite liked how he never celebrated. He wasn't that emotional at full time when that winning goal went in. That tells you that he knows with his own eyes that improvements are required. Let's get to some of the comments coming in. Ewan Minton gets in touch. I'm not too sure if you know this, Stevie. Morning, Derek and Steve. It was great meeting you in Coralejo, buddy. Were you there, Stevie? Did you meet Ewan?
Yeah, I believe I did. Was there at the end of September. So for the Scotland games, and I think I would have met Ewan probably watching the Hearts victory, the 4-0 game, in the wee Scottish bar run by the good Rangers people run that. So it's a nice wee bar, and tend to frequent that. So yeah, Ewan, nice to meet you too, mate. Certainly better than the weather on the dog walk this morning, Derek, I can tell you. It was so wet and cold that it's that way that your face is freezing.
Oh.
But I'm still smiling, singing Wigfield, as we go. So. It's not all bad, like.
Superb, love that. Good to have you tuning in, Ewan. One more, some other comments that are coming in quite interesting. I know we touched on Ryan Kent there. Stevie Alan McKinnis says, please give Kent some recognition. Great first half and still good second, key to equaliser. Great celebration of Scott Arfield on the winner. Yes, I think I much prefer him in this sort of free role he's been afforded by Michael Beale. He's not pigeonholed over on that left-hand side, and it's dragging opposition defenders all over the place. I think he faded out the game. He wasn't alone in that in the second half, Stevie. But without a shot, of course, the equaliser doesn't come. Rangers just need him to do more of sort of the first half, the opening of the first half more often, don't they? They need more from him. And sort of put Malik Tillman in that bracket as well. Again, he showed in flashes last night how good a player he is. We need to remember, and it's hard to sometimes get your head around the fact this is his actual first proper full season in senior football, so there has to be an element of patience there. But those are game-changing players for Rangers, aren't they? And they are capable of more. That's why I think they get a bit of stick sometimes.
Yeah, I thought that I had given Kent some recognition, to be fair, Derek. So, I've already spoken about how highly I rate Ryan Kent, and, he's had a frustrating season. He's really underperformed in some games, but he keeps going last night. And as I said, it's great that he has that influence last week. And then last night, I can see the benefit of him dropping in and picking up wee positions because he becomes difficult. I liked the ball that he fizzed in to Morelos, who then touched it off to Sakala to put just over. That was kind of a good move, and I like him doing that kind of thing. On Malik Tillman, I don't think Malik Tillman had a best evening last night, but look at the influence he's having. He's creating big moments, game-winning moments. He gets 2 against Leverkusen, fine. It's only a friendly. You've seen the effect he had last week against Hibs. He makes the second goal with his flick on, then brilliantly assists for the third for Morelos. And then last night, he has that moment in the first half. He sets up Morelos, which was his one good run. I said at halftime, we need to get a way of getting him into the game to free him up. The way of getting him into the game was getting Arfield close and getting runners beyond him. He started to really get involved at that moment. But the skill for the third goal is incredible because he's nowhere to go. He's got 2 players around him. He manages to get past one and get it up to a one-on-one by kind of turning in and turning out again. Then he digs out that cross. Not only does he dig it out, Derek, but it's perfect. You've seen the panic it causes. It ends up getting knocked back. And, primarily he's almost got an assist there. So these are the big game-winning moments. And, funnily enough, I've been quite impressed by our forward play the last few games. I think it's been fine. There's bits to work on, yeah, but you can actually see like the way that they knock about the ball for the first goal, Jack and Morelos. You can see that they're practicing that movement to free up and try and get the overload wide, and they get it perfectly. So things like that are working, little subtle things. But as Michael Beale said, this is a work in progress. It's going to take a while. But all credit to Ryan Kent and Malik Tillman, because big moments, especially Malik. You know, there's been a lot of talk about would you pay $5 million for him? No question. At this moment in time, at this moment in time, with the evidence available, you know, you would absolutely pay it. And does he need to do more 90 minutes? Yeah, possibly he does. But you look at the things, the influence, the big moments he's had so far this season, PSV, etc. He's producing, and he's only 20. This is only his first season. He's getting better and better. If we can find ways to isolate him in games and get him free and feed him the ball and have people moving, stick Lawrence and Hadji and things around him, and I think this boy will flourish. And the other thing is as well, if you spend $5 million on Malik Tillman, you'd be extremely unlucky for that investment not to pay off, Derek. So I think, you know, I think it's one of those ones where we should be forward planning even now for making sure that we have that. And you've just got to keep at it with him. You've just got to keep, you know, persevering in games. And credit to Michael Beale, because he could have taken him off, but he knows he's capable of those wee moments. So yeah, well done to both of them. And as for recognition for Kenty, you know, I'm one of his biggest fans, always have been, and he's got a wee bit of criticism because I know how good he can be. So well done to Ryan Kent. More shots like that on target outside the box, please.
Yeah, but I just the way he was moving, especially that first half last night, was vintage Kent, and just the swivel of the hips and the body movement and all that. But was a joy to watch at times. We'll just finish up, Stevie. Ross gets in touch. Thought both Goldson and Tavernier struggled last night. Understandable for Goldson. Goldson, I thought it was great to see him back. It's fantastic to see him back in that Rangers defence. There's no doubt about it. Slightly off the pace, you could see a few wayward passes, but listen, the winning goal doesn't come if he isn't in there in the penalty area. Tavernier, I think we touched on, is just wasn't his best of nights. I think that's fair to suggest. Never had the best of games. What do you make of Ross's comment here, Stevie?
I think it's harsh on Goldson. Defensively, I thought Connor Goldson was really good. Wins a lot of crosses, wins a lot of headers. He slipped a couple of times, right? And at the points when he slipped a couple of times, it kind of let them in, and then you seen the line becoming ragged and things like that. But I'm not really having that he had a poor night. Distribution-wise, I think we got into a real moment between kind of 60 and 75 where everybody was giving the ball away. Even Lundstrom did it. Tavernier was very, very slack during that period as well. Listen, I'm a huge James Tavernier fan. I'm not one of these ones that thinks we should strip him of captaincy and stuff like that. But I think it's also realistic to say that he's well off where he should be. He hasn't performed to the levels we know he can. He struggled a wee bit fitness-wise, but he's one of the ones that needs built up again. Just like Ryan Kent's a confidence player, Tav's the same. You need to build these guys up. Say the same thing about Tav that we said, and we will continue to say. He never hides. He always keeps going. He always tries to win. He always keeps going and always tries to influence the game. Connor Goldson's practically playing as a striker last night, trying to win the game. He's playing really high as a number 8. So, you know, considering it was the first game after only a couple of sessions back, I'm delighted he's back. And, you know, I think that he can play better. James Tavernier, definitely. He's got a few rings of the ladder to go up and can influence him, but he also needs more from people around him. So he needs to raise his game, but we need better from everybody else as well. But last night, Derek, look, I don't think you can overly say that any of them were wonderful. You know, 5 out of 10, the manager said. I think that speaks volumes. So there's a lot more to do, but they should take massive, massive confidence from winning that game that way and be able to try and kind of kick on. And I think that's what everybody hopes.
Yeah, and we'll just finish up this comment from Barry Higgins. He sort of sums up what you were saying, Stevie. You have to admit the fighting spirit has changed dramatically since Beales came back. Never fought like that when Gio was here. Listen, as Michael Beale said, great character, mentality. He said it was a mentality week, Stevie. 2 big matches, 2 big trips. Longest trips in the league up at Pittodrie and Dingwall. The first hurdle has been negotiated just. Let's hope that Friday night is a tad more comfortable when Rangers take on Malky Mackay's Ross County. We'll finish up there. Thanks to Stevie as ever. Great to have him on the show. And thanks to everyone for interacting with the programme as always. Just a reminder, you can see the little Christmas offer ticker below. If you've not taken advantage of the website, go and do so. Head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe. You can have 2 months worth of coverage for just a solitary £1. Great value it is. We'll be back again tomorrow. Oh, Stevie, you want to button? Yep.
Yeah, sorry, mate. I didn't want to talk over you again. I've spent the last 40 minutes doing it. But listen, I just wanted to say to everyone, Derek, everyone that kind of watches and interactions and speaks away to us on these shows, I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and have good festivities for their families and the festive period. And let's hope for a good result on Friday night. And, you know, everybody that watches this show, we all have different opinions and, you know, it's all highs and lows and everything else. But, you know, let's enjoy this wee moment. You don't get too many moments like last night, so enjoy it. Let's hope we can kick off and really wish everyone, you know, a Merry Christmas, and we'll see you after the festivities, and hopefully we keep winning.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. Okay, folks, we'll be back again tomorrow. I believe it's myself and I think it's Johnny, if I'm not mistaken, and maybe Adam Thornton might be joining us as well. But yeah, we'll be back again tomorrow as we look ahead to the match on Friday. But until then, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Bye for now.